Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. We're going to learn a new mimer. This year is for a schus, good news, and it's sponsored by Anonymous. Yeah, not and. That is the Anonymous. Okay, today we're going to learn a mimer, which is actually from Tafshin Mem Daled Mem. Actually, interestingly enough, it was said on my birthday. I was born on a Shabbos, and those Chanuka mimer said on that Shabbos. So yeah. Okay. So basically, outside, we're going to ask a few questions about the connection between Chanuka and not Sukkot, like in last mimer, but Chanuka and the mezuzah, and how they can contrast them, and then discuss what the Greeks doing. It's a very short mimer, if you see, especially in that year. It's 1, 2, and a little bit. That's it. Anyway, we'll see where we get to. Okay. Pshat D'Shmaya, Shabbos Pashas Miketz, Shabbos Chanuka, Mevarchim Chedesh, Tevis, Tafshin, Daled Mem. Shabbos Pashas Miketz, Shabbos of Chanuka, we're blessing the month of Tevis, Shabbos of Mevarchim, the year 1983. Tanu, Rabanan, our rabbis taught in the Brisa, it says in the Gemara, Ner Chanuka, the light of Chanuka, mitzvah, laniach al Pesach beis mechutz. Put it on the doorway, on the outside. The Gemara, it says in the Gemara, mitzvah lanicha betefach hasamuch lePesach. The mitzvah is to place a tefach close to the opening, meaning outside but close to the house. Kedei menorah, kedei ner Chanuka mismel, on the left, and the mezuzah miyamin, and the mezuzah will be on the right. And that's what it says, which we see here, at the ner Chanuka mezuzah, they have a relationship. That specifically one should be on the left and one in order that the other one, they should contrast each other. So the Pidikabba explains, he analyzes this in his Maimon that was said 40 years ago in the year 1944, right in America, 40 years ago, since 40 years already passed since this Maimon. Move on, it's understood. Now, if we learn this Maimon properly, the 40 years, putting the effort, so there's a concept that only after 40 years you start to understand your teacher's lessons, to really get it. I never said, since this Maimon was said 40 years ago, now maybe we can start to really understand it. And so I guess it simply means that it takes, you 40 years of learning and processing it, so you really appreciate it to the level of your teacher. And that's what they're saying. So let's understand the Maimon of the Fidikra. So the first question is, why does the menorah is meant to be of Chanuka specifically on the outside? And like we said in the last Maimon, even though that today we do it on the inside of the house, it's just because of the custom it came that way, because of the persecution of lighting the menorah on the outside was a dangerous event. They did it inside, and that's why we keep it that way. But essentially, halachically, in the olden days, meaning times of the Gemara, should be on the outside. And also the fact that it's very different than the mezuzah. Because the mezuzah, the mezuzah's purpose is for the house. And like it's known, on the outside of the mezuzah, it says, everyone noticed, you'll for sure look now when you look at your mezuzah on your door, if you can see the mezuzah on the outside, it says Shin, a Daled, and a Yud, which is one of Hashem's names actually. And what does that stand for? Shemer Daled Yisrael. The Shin stands for Shemer, Daled, Diris, or Dalos, and the Yud is Yisrael, that the mezuzah protects the house. I know, meaning Shinyanahu Lishmer al Mashivifnim. The purpose of the mezuzah is to protect what's on the inside. Unlike Ner Chanuka, its idea is to shine on the outside. As the Frierdiker brings down in his Maimer the practical difference, between having what's the practical difference between the mezuzah and ner Chanukah? The mezuzah chatzer, if you put a mezuzah by the koyad, it doesn't pater, it doesn't exempt the house. Because you need a mezuzah on the door, on the house, to protect the house. Unlike the ner Chanukah, that technically you can light it on the koyad and your house is pater. Which is, we're seeing here again, very different. Because the whole purpose of the ner Chanukah is to light up the outside. So you're going to say, well, no, it's not because it's part of the house, because of the fact it's the idea of Pesumim Nisa. And you have a more Pesumim Nisa, you're spreading the miracle outside. Like we do in Miftaim, in the midst of things. Everyone lights on the cars, like in Chabad we do. That's why we do it on the outside. So he says, really, if you want to analyze that, it doesn't really make so much sense, because also by Purim, you have this concept of a miracle, of publicizing the miracle in Purim. Very famous concept in Purim, publicize the miracle. But how to publicize the miracle in Purim? We do it. It's in Shul. Like it says, it should be with Rev Am, with many people, is the beauty of the king. It's very beautiful whenever everyone comes together. And like we have in Purim, it is beautiful. You come to Shul and you listen to Megillah, it's very nice. But on Chanukah, we don't do that. So why is the publicizing the miracle of Chanukah? Why is it specific? Why is Chanukah connected with lighting up the outside? Let's take the Megillah and go outside and read. And what's the difference between this and the mezuzah? Then the mezuzah outside of the koyad doesn't pater your house, whereas the ner Chanukah koyad does pater the house. So we see here that even though they're connected, because it says that the ner Chanukah should be on the left and the mezuzah should be on the right, which showing that they have a connection. But together with that, we see that they're very different. So what's going on over here? So the explanation of this in short. The reason why the ner Chanukah is on the left and the mezuzah is on the right is because of the what intrinsically they are. What are their jobs? The ner Chanukah, which is, the mezuzah, which is on the left, sorry, it's on the right. The mezuzah, which is on the right, its purpose is what's on the inside. Like we talked about the fact that you have to light up that you have to put the mezuzah for the house, has to be on the house. Whereas the left, which is related to the mezuzah, the ner Chanukah, it's about affecting the outside. And what's the difference? It's like the difference between a positive mitzvah and a negative mitzvah. The mitzvah is a positive mitzvah. Positive mitzvah is to fix the right side. Whereas the negative mitzvahs, the idea is to refine also the smile, the left, through pushing away, through not doing it. Meaning like this: when it comes to the difference between a positive mitzvah and a negative mitzvah is that a positive mitzvah is a doing mitzvah. You do something. What we're saying here is not just that you do something, but you take something and you fix. You do something and you fix it. You take, let's say, a coin and you give it into charity. That's you taking a coin that's by itself nothing and you give it value. You fix it and you do a mitzvah. You take anything, you take a food, and you make a bracha, and you elevate things. Whereas the left, or the negative mitzvahs, it's not a doing. There's no doing. It's just refraining. And that's that's the difference between these two things. How does it work in connection with what we're talking about, the mezuzah and the ner Chanukah? Is a hefesh be mezuzah and ner Chanukah. Jinyana shel mezuzah hu kitechna b'pashtus. So the idea of the mezuzah, like it's simply in simple terms, the purpose of what the mezuzah shows on which, like we said, is the right. It shows in like the house that everything is good. Everything in the house is good. We're all connected. Like it says in the mezuzah, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that everything is godliness. Hashem is one in the world, and the mezuzah is meant to bring out this idea that there's only godliness. But Dal Rucha is in the four directions, in the seven heavens, and in the earth. The Gamma mezuzah, but the mezuzah in Yanahu Hashem Yishmor Teis Chovecha. That mezuzah also Hashem will guide you going and coming. The mezuzah is all about, it's like positive mitzvahs. It's all about revealing Elikus, all godliness. God. Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad. Only Hashem. Amnam Ner Chanuka. Wait, what's Ner Chanuka? In Yana, Hamilcham Im Halumazeh. Ner Chanuka is the exact opposite. It's not showing that everything's on the course, but it's dealing with the negative, like we discussed in the Maimon. Shigam b'makom ha'choshech, even in the place of darkness, even the smell, even the negative mitzvahs, the things that you have that are not good, and the way you elevate them is by staying away from them. Even those places, also there, godliness should come. And you see here the meaning, let's use it in a simple way to understand. You live in Crown Heights, or you're in seminary, or you learn, you're in a bubble, so it's very easy. And that's like a mezuzah. You can just show everything's godliness. Yeah, I can go from a Sefer Torah to a Farbrengen, to a Shabbos meal, to learn something, and it's easy. Whereas the smell is when you go to work, is when you have struggles in life, and you have these things you have to contend with, and that's sort of that's the challenging part of life, and that's where the Chanuka comes in. Chanuka comes into your challenges. It doesn't come into that's what its purpose is. And as I was on last night, that the ability of the Ner Chanuka is specifically this: is to take those darknesses, take the things that are dark in our lives or in the world, and go. And that's why you're in the mitzvah, you go on mitzvah. Like I went on the mitzvah tank on the first night on the parade with my kids. We jumped on one of the mitzvah tanks and we're driving around. And you're in Manhattan, you see people. I saw this lady. I gave her a menorah. She was in line, some like theater, and she jumped out of line to get the menorah. And you think to yourself, she didn't have a menorah. She doesn't know anything. It's darkness. It's a sad situation. But of course, it's good because she got the menorah. And as we were driving, you see tons of people holding menorahs in their hands, and they were given a menorah. And that's the purpose of the Ner Chanuka. And ultimately, like we said in the other Maimon, that's the ability we have on Chanuka, that we can take those darknesses. Meaning we should look at the situation, and when we see things that are dark, we don't say, "Oi, it's dark. It's not good. We're in trouble." Say, it's Chanuka. I have the ability to light up this darkness. And we'll finish off tomorrow. We're basically halfway through the Maimon. Everyone should have a great, happy Chanuka, and they should have only light.
Amen.